A Fox News alert now. If you are just waking up this morning, the man believed to have murdered students at Brown University and a professor at MIT has been found dead inside a storage facility in New Hampshire. But there are still plenty of unanswered questions.
We're still investigating the motive in this case and trying to, because, like I said, he was very careful in his communications, and we just don't have any information right now to answer that question. But when we get that information, we will share it.
Retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent Scott Duffey joins me now. Scott, right now, how are investigators piecing together a motive? Specifically, why this suspect killed two teenage students that weren't even born when this guy reportedly attended Brown University, the same university where this shooting took place and where those two individuals died?
Yeah, good morning, Todd. Yeah, same questions as myself and the rest of us watching, but most importantly, investigators are already digging deep. So you have an individual that, from all reports, right, has been at the university 20 to 25 years ago, and then all of a sudden surfaces without us knowing what has brought him back to the university, the connection to the MIT professor, other than both being Portuguese. What is their connections in the past, perhaps being classmates, et cetera. But what took place in these last 20 some odd years that has brought this person back to Brown University and ultimately on the footsteps of this MIT professor's residence, and to have done unspeakable harm. So investigators are definitely digging deep to see what was that trigger, what took place that caused him to come here and do unspeakable acts.
You saw in the full screen that we just showed, he lived in Miami, Florida, prior to all this. He also planned this pretty extensively, from the storage unit up in New Hampshire to that rental car with Florida plates that he covered up then with Maine plates. That level of preparation, albeit not perfect because obviously they found him, but that level of preparation, what does it tell you about his state of mind?
Yeah. Regardless of what was going through his mind, perhaps some sort of mental health component, but he knew exactly what he was doing. The fact that we are seeing pieces of evidence that are going back months in planning, all this takes a lot to be able to have these communications where he is perhaps changing SIM cards, using different apps, to throw off authorities. So he was already thinking ahead of, I'm going to try to stay one step ahead of authorities and do what I do. I'm not quite sure if he was done. It just seemed like this was over a period of 6 days, finding him, with Saturday, going to Brown University, and then just a few days later to the MIT professor, and then being able to continue to escape authorities and wind up where he was found in a storage unit in New Hampshire.
Interesting point there. You don't think he was done, but yet he killed himself, apparently, when authorities started moving in. Just quickly, how do you square that circle, Scott?
Yeah, so it's a tremendous amount of planning. And so the Brown University, even though he had gone there, what was his target? Who was his target, as opposed to just going to that very campus, that very building that he was at? And then what happened with him and this MIT professor, whether it be years ago or did something recently take place that caused him to want to commit these acts? So I believe something was going through his mind, perhaps over the years, but typically you can only go back 3 to 6 months and you should be able to find what was that trigger that started him on this path. It just seemed that this was an anomaly, an exception to your typical active shooter going into a location to do the most harm in the shortest period of time. And then ultimately, they are typically met either with law enforcement being able to stop that threat, or somebody taking their own life. Yes, he took his own life, but it was some point afterwards.
The manhunt is over. The quest for answers just beginning. Scott Duffey, thank you, sir.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.